This is what it is, okay? I said empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. Now you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend.
Welcome to the 14th episode of the Deployment Dojo. I'm your host, Rob Mensching, and this is a live show where we talk about installation topics using the WiX Toolset. Today, joining me is a very good friend and probably the person most able to run this dojo without me, Bob Arnson. Bob, how are you doing today? Well, you know, we get all the pieces, we get it worked out. David, unfortunately, is sick today, so he's not able to join us. So I called in Bob, and we're going to keep going. We'd love to have him here, but I'm sure David was going to watch this episode later when he feels better to keep up, because he's always doing a great job taking notes and asking questions. Bob, as I mentioned, knows as much about the WiX Toolset as I do and could run this whole thing. So this is going to be a little bit different. Martin, great to have you again, and this is going to be fun. We are picking up where we left off. We're not jumping ahead. We're not going to go dig into some deep advanced topic. For those of you that are following with us weekly, we're going to pick up right where you left off. We did directories last time. We saw how to configure directories from the command line to change where you could change where your installation package is installed to. And I also learned something that the case on the command line did not matter, if you remember. If you haven't watched that episode, you can go back and see them. They're all up there on YouTube, on my YouTube channel. All right. Today, we're going to move on to the next thing that you can customize during installation time, and those are called properties. Bob, are you ready to join me? All right. Here we go. We're just jumping right in. The usual thing. It's an empty directory except for my sandbox, if I could type, the Dojo and the Dojo sandbox file. Nothing special here. I'm going to launch Visual Studio, create a new project in that folder, in Dojo 14. And we're going to create another MSI package. We're going to create probably one of each of these. Let's create the console application first, and we'll put it in episode 14. Wow, this is just remembering everything for me. I love it. All right, console app 1. Create, go, boom. First thing we're gonna do, console.writeLine. At some point, you guys are gonna get tired of me writing these, and we'll just drop it into, I'll prep it. But I want you guys to know that everything here is real, that nothing is prepped or made up or anything like that. I'm writing it the same way that you could write it as I write it if you wanna try to keep up. Okay, yeah, maybe, well, we'll see. All right, now that means our solution is going to be called console 1. That's fine. Add a new project. We're going to add ourselves a WiX 4 MSI package. And this is using the latest Heatwave. Heatwave has had a couple of updates since Preview 1 and then RC1, which was just last time. Gosh, I've been sick for the last couple weeks. I've missed you guys. It's been kind of weird, like not doing a show or anything, but I did not have the energy or the ability to speak nearly well enough. So anyway, this is on WiX 4 RC1. How do we know that? I'm gonna just double click on the project, and right up here it tells me WiX 4 RC1. All right, so let's see. I'm gonna double check. Hey, Bob, can you say hi real quick? All right, everybody just told me that Bob is not showing up because, oh yes, there we go. I didn't wire him into my sound bus. See, I said Bob could run this show without me. Maybe he should have. All right, now we're back. Hopefully you guys can now hear Bob.
Hi.
All these wonderful things Bob has said about me that you guys haven't heard any. No. It's all good. Hopefully you could tell through my C3PO to his R2 kind of what was going on. Anyway, you haven't missed anything too exciting yet. This is RC1, and of course the day that we're dreaming of is when this RC drops off and it is just WiX 4. But we're still a ways from that. That won't work. All right, RC1, that's what we're working on with the latest heat wave. And I think that's most of what I want to look at. Oh, I need to add the file. Example components, add the reference, add a project reference over to our console app. That's great. Add the file of, what did I name it? Did I change its name? I did not. All right. Instead of installing our file here, console app1.exe. First thing we're going to do is build. That built the MSI very quickly. The exe very quickly. The MSI builds very quickly. We just have to wait for validation. And there we go. I want to point out one thing. You guys have probably seen me trip over this in the last few episodes where I have the build configuration manager and how I always have to remember to switch this over to x86 because the template was trying to build only a 32-bit MSI. We have updated the templates in the latest heatwave so that the template will now build both x86 and x64 based off of your architecture here. I also want to mention for those of you on the stream, a little behind the scenes information. I don't know, Bob, maybe you know this one. I think we were talking about this bug before, but Visual Studio is pushing x64 really hard. So any project that says that it can have architectures, they push 64-bit to match the Visual Studio architecture. So this is not us in Heatwave selecting this. This is Visual Studio saying, hey, you can support x64, your editor is 64, we're gonna make your package 64. Of course, I can build an x86 package here if I wanted to. I just want to point you out that there's that, and hopefully now Heatwave out of the box will work a little bit better. Where did we make that change? Of course, in the directories, which is over in our folders, and that was a change. We now support both the program file 64 32 folder, so it will switch based off of what you're building. All right, there's a little behind the scenes things that have happened in the last, I don't know, month-ish. Few weeks. All right, so we have an MSI, it builds, all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to put it in the sandbox because that's not really the part I want to talk about. I want to also add a registry key here. We've done these before. Registry. I was like, where's my map value? And I want to give it a key equals, and we're going to put it somewhere. Oh, I want to give the root first. Root, and we'll put it in. I guess HKLM is fine, and we'll put it in software Dojo. Value equals, or name equals configurable, if I can spell that correctly, value. Now, this is the new syntax I want to introduce everyone to here for configuring things on the command line. And let's say we need this value to be specified by the user at install time. So the way you could do that is by using these square brackets. And here we will then define a variable called foo, all right? And when I have that variable, I also want to define it here. And I could give it a default value like this. 1, 2, 3. I don't know. All right, so what have we done? What we've done is created, this is a variable inside the running of the Windows installer. So not at build time. We've seen some of those with the preprocessor variables. This is a variable at runtime. So when the Windows installer is running, you can configure these properties and we can set them in the command line. That's what I want to show you first. And when we do so, it'll assign the value of this property here into this registry key that I'm going to create. All right, so I'm going to prove it right now by opening it up in the sandbox. So let's go ahead and kick open the sandbox. And there's one thing I want to do before we do that. I want to open the command file here. And we are no longer in program files. I want to open our x86. We're now in 64-bit program files. All right. Start up our sandbox. We have our build of our MSI. We're in the sandbox where you guys can see it. Wait for it to open all the folders that it opens. There's our programs and features. And there's our build location called console app 1, because that's the name of the solution. Episode 14 in the bin, x64, debug, ENUS. And here's our MSI. And here's the folders in program files folder. And I will probably need to open regedit. I think I told it to stop opening regedit. Please show me the registry. All right, local machine, and then software. All right, so we're gonna test it. Here we go. We're gonna install this MSI without anything on the command line. That was really fast. Did that work? Yeah, there's our to-do manufacturer. I didn't change the manufacturer name again. Did that. Here's our console app 1 installed to program files. There it says hello Dojo 14 waiting for us. And here we have under our directory, I'll hit F5. And there's our Dojo key and our configurable value. And it's set right now to 1, 2, 3. So what did it do? Bob, you can probably explain this. The property value defaulted to 1, 2, 3. Bob's gonna sleep on me probably. He's like, yes, I know.
No. I'm there with you.
You're typing in everything. All right, cool. So we have this property and we set it, and then it gets put into this registry key. All good. Now I want to go back to the sandbox and uninstall the installed package. Yes, there we go. It was so fast. I didn't see it the first time. All right, and if I refresh here, our little Dojo key disappears. All right, we're gonna open the command prompt now because I wanna work on the command line to the Windows installer. Make this bigger. Dojo episode, well, let's go here. All right, into the directory. This is a command prompt, not a PowerShell, Rob. So ls does not work. All right, MSI exec. Should I make that one more bigger? There we go, maybe a little bigger. It's a very big black box. All right, MSI exec /I, episode 14 MSI. And then just like we could for directories, we can set the values for properties on the command line to foo. So I'm gonna change it to ABC. Run. That goes fast. We should see our MSI here. We run here. We have Dojo, configurable, and I know that's small, but that now says ABC. So it took our value from the command line of the MSI and passed it in through this property into the value foo here. Okay, which then filled in this registry key, all kinds of good stuff. All right, Bob, I know you're the answer. See, I'm able to usually ask David, so what do you think happens if I take out this property and I build? And Dave will give me answers like, I don't know, maybe the property won't work anymore?
You see, now I'm torn because part of me is going, well, wait, doesn't that need to be marked secure?
Secure, yes.
But it wasn't, so it should just work, right?
Yep. All right. So I have rebuilt the MSI here. You can see I did a build. I close my sandbox, bring my sandbox back up. And when I double click on the MSI, which I do not pass a value on the command line, wait for it, wait for it, wait for it. Here we go. Oh, I need to add regedit back to my command. This one's set up for opening program files folder. And console app 1, episode 14, bin, x86, debug. I built an English one. Please install episode 14. There we go. Last time was so fast, I couldn't believe it happened. Now I feel better. I can actually see it do something. All right. Back to local machine. Back to software. Our Dojo key is there. What's the value going to be? Zach's already made his guess. Zach's a pro at this. He knows the answer. The value is blank. All right. So what happens is if you do not have a property and you do not find it, but you use it in your source code, that's fine. You do not have to define variables like you do in most languages. The Windows installer will just be like, oh, I didn't find that value. That's fine. I'll just make it blank. You can ask for any variable. So if you accidentally mistype this and put a D or a B or a T or any other or too many letters, this can be a little frustrating to find. The Windows installer will happily tell you, nope, there is no property by that, and let you install without it.
And no warning in the log even.
no warning, no nothing. You'll get no information that the value didn't, but you will get an empty string, which maybe is the value that you want in this case. All right, but that's important to know, is that properties will evaluate to false. There's something in here, and there's a WiX feature in here somewhere for us to find properties and say, hey, you didn't declare this property, so that we could at least have you go and declare all properties in it. And it's kind of been this feature in the back of my head of, yeah, at least then you have to say that there is a property called foo, and then we would catch at build time that you didn't have a property called foo. This does not exist. So I pointed out now in WiX 4 and all WiXs before, if you make a typo in the property name, it does not work the way you would want it to. It'll just be an empty string.
Yeah, we really should have that feature, and we can call it option strict.
Option strict.
Anyone knows what that's referring to, you're old.
Yeah, I know what that is. All right, anybody in chat know what option strict refers to? While I get my command prompt back up here and nice and big. Option strict. Oh my gosh, I really thought somebody was going to have it by now. Oh, Martin's smiling, so he may know what option strict means. Like, I don't have anything to give people. I don't have a cookie or anything. Option strict. Option explicit? Is that...
Uh-oh. Did I get the name wrong?
Oh, you might have got the name wrong. I didn't want to question you because it's been so long since I've used that language. I was in grade school. Oh, no. Nope. VBA. Oh, now I do feel old.
Oh, they're different.
Oh, there's two values.
There are two. Interesting.
Yeah. I first hit option explicit, option strict in Quick Basic, because I don't think the basic interpreter I had it. And basic, the language basic, would allow you to define and use variables whether you define them or not. That made it one of its joys when you're trying to debug a very large project. But who created very large basic projects? And then VB Script had the same thing. Fun fact, first version of WiX V1, Bob, you know what was written in?
I do. I don't want to say it because it
was written in VB Script. The first version of WiX actually was all written in VB Script. For those of you that were there. All right, I just want to show real quick that we can still specify the command line here, foo XYZ here, even though the property was not defined, didn't build it, or it wasn't defined at all. If we go through, set it, and then we go back to the registry, hit F5, the new value is there, configurable XYZ. Okay, so even though you didn't define it, it's there. And I can also, let me uninstall this real quick, just to show the, oh, no, uninstall, not change. I don't know what change just did. It reran it. Okay, key is gone. We're now going to install MSI exec, and I'm going to misspell foo on the command line. This is the other place where you could misspell your properties is on the command line. If we now pass, if this is supposed to be foo, we don't hit it right, we do an install, we find Dojo, we're back to that blank value. Okay, so if you misspell it on the command line, of course, it just goes through. There's nothing in the Windows installer to say, hey, by the way, this property is not known, and I don't know why you set it on the command line. It does none of that verification, which leads me into the second part of the kata. Here we go, Bob. On to kata 2. Close the sandbox. All right. We did things backwards because I wanted to have them work the first time in the demo, but I want to show the opposite. If you guys remember from the last stream, I've been capitalizing this property, and I've been capitalizing it on purpose. All right, so here's foo, 1, 2, 3, value, 1, 2, value will be put into the same reg key. So this is the same code, except now I'm using a mixed case foo. All right, so we're gonna build. Get a new episode 14 MSI. Do I still have this? Okay. Oh, I did. I just commented out. Good. I want regedit back. And I don't think we need the directory. We're not doing this for the file. There we go. We'll save that. Okay. Let's spin up our sandbox with that updated start script. Bring it off of the monitor that it always shows up on, which is my main monitor there. To my left, your right. I don't know actually which way it shows up for you guys. All right. Regedit is open. Console app 1. That. Okay, console app 1, episode 14, bin x86 debug ENUS. And now we have a default back. So let's just install it. It's fast. HKey local machine, software, Dojo, back to 123, just like our example code. Foo 123, foo. All good. Everything doing the right stuff there. We will now uninstall it. Boom. Our registry key is gone. No more Dojo key. All right, so back to the command line, because that is how I pass command line or pass parameters. Oh, let's go grab this path. All right, CD this. MSI exec switch I, episode 14, foo equals HJI. All right, so I'm saying, hey, please from the command line, set the property foo equals HJI. Who thinks this is going to work?
I am not raising my hand.
Yeah, me. No. Raise your left hand if it doesn't. I can't do left or right. I don't ever get those right. Okay, so I pass foo equals HJI on the command line. We should now have it installed. We have our registry key. This is good, but it's still 123. Why is it 123? Well, if you remember from the last stream, the Windows installer only allows you to set things from the command line when they are all caps. So it has decided this is what we call a private property or just a normal property. And when it was all caps, it was called a public property. Okay, so public properties can be set on the command line and fed in. Private properties cannot, and they can be used within your installer. That's important to know because, well, if you don't want people setting like important pieces of your install that you have variables running around, because you can use these things, and this is the building block. This is another one of those fundamental building blocks. We'll be using these properties all over. But if you don't want like someone from the outside setting your internal variables to random values that totally mess up your install, well, don't capitalize the properties. Only capitalize the properties that you want people to be able to set from the command line. Basically, to be a user settable, mark them all caps. That's the way that the Windows Store expects them. All right.
And then we get into the secure versus administrator.
Okay, right? We do that for sparring. Save that, Bob. I want to come back to it because you brought up a good thing. I want to do one more last thing here. I'm going to destroy my sandbox because last time I got caught, and I'm going to, this goes out to everybody. I'm going to all caps my foo again, and I'm going to change it to 789 just so we know the value is different. Okay, now, who thinks that I can pass a different cased foo on the command line and still have this property get set? Does that work? Okay, so tell me, yes, if I pass in lowercase foo or capital F, but not all uppercase foo on the command line to MSI, will it set the value from there? So now enter your guesses now into chat. Bob, what do you think it's going to do?
I don't think that will work because MSI does support the concept of public and private.
So you do not think this is going to work. You think if I run this, I'm always going to get the value 789 no matter what I set to foo on the command line.
Well, except for when foo is all uppercase.
Okay, so foo is all uppercase in the MSI. I am going to set the case on the command line to something else. Episode 14, bin x86, focus on getting to the MSI. All right, MSI exec /i, episode 14, foo equals TUV. Is this going to, what is the registry key going to get set to?
789.
789?
I'm doubling down.
Martin's down with Bob. He thinks it's going to do. The truth is, I don't know. I haven't done this test. And when I said that the directory would not be set when it was mixed case and it was, I was very surprised. So I'm actually going the other way. I think the Windows installer is going to set this registry key to TUV. I'm waiting for Zach. If there's not a private with the same casing. Oh, that breaks my head. That's an interesting idea.
Okay, so you're saying you think that MSI is basically case insensitive at the command line?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3. It installed. We will expand our software key. I got to refresh it. Here's Dojo. You guys ready? Value, TUV. Ta-da!
Man.
The only reason I guessed this way was because of the last episode we did when the mixed case directories worked. Okay.
That is fascinating.
All right. Now, there are 2 things to try now. Zach has raised the question, what if we have a private property named this?
Right.
All right. So we're going to have public now and a private value. And I need to make these different. So this will be 4, 5, 6, and I need a number. 6, 5, 4. There. No, that's too close. 3, 2, 1. There we go. Okay. Is the property table case sensitive? Zach asks. So yes, the identifiers in the Windows installer are case sensitive. I am kind of curious to see what this does here. I would not be surprised if some ICE that I've never tried pressing this. By the way, here, we're off into sparring land. All right. We're just hacking around now. Okay. So everything that happens here is now we're just kind of hacking, and I will get back to secure. We're going to go long. We've only got 3 minutes, but I want to do this thing from Zach first. What is going to happen here? There it is. And I was right. It's actually an ICE. There's an ICE saying, hey, by the way, did you know there's only one of these that is differs by case only? So let's go run it. Because now that we've hit this warning, I don't know what it's going to tell me to do.
So I will place a bet.
Yes, please.
To redeem myself. I'm going to say that indeed MSI exec, the command line for MSI exec is case insensitive, and because you can only set public properties on the command line, that's the only thing that it's going to do.
All right. To be clear, I just ran it with, I just double clicked it. I didn't, no parameters. Just want to make sure that we hit something. All right. So private is 3, 2, 1. Public is 4, 5, 6. 4, 5, 6, 3, 2, 1. I should have flipped these orders. So private is first. Public is, yeah. So the numbers are correct. Okay. So now I got to bring up another command prompt. And to that directory, to the directory. All right, MSI exec /I, episode 14 MSI. How should I case this? It's either foo. This is probably the one, right?
It's the first.
Let's do this one, right? So I am saying the private property name. Let me make sure I uninstall here. I got to install. All right. So I'm saying the private property name. Yep. Okay. It's got the private property name, even though there's a public one as well. Okay. Yep. So what do we think the value is going to be? I want your bets now. What are we going to get? What is the value of public going to be, and what's the value of private going to be?
Private will stay 3, 2, 1. Public will be YOV.
Will be YOV. Yep. Okay. I think the same, Bob. And we'll see. Time for all you guys to decide. Zach Martin, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Do the install. Let's see if our reg key is here. So what are we expecting? We are expecting private to be 3, 2, 1. Private to be 3, 2, 1, and the value of public to be YUV. Private 3, 2, 1. Public YUV.
Okay.
So it works exactly as we expected it to in the end, even though this certainly creates for a possibly confusing situation.
A little bit confusing.
A little bit.
My first suggestion will be to run it with foo spelled like all lowercase, so as to not match any property.
Sure, but I think that's going to be the same.
Nope, it will be the same, because MSI is saying we should be generous when we're parsing the command line, and the only properties you can set from the command line are public.
Yep.
And if you differentiate only by case, well, you deserve some pain.
Yep, all lowercase. Yep. So basically, the Windows installer takes this name and uppercases it and says, there you go. That's the name of the property you get. That's probably the shortest way to think of it.
Yep.
So if you use it, you get it. Okay. Now, we're going over. Everybody ready to go over?
Sure.
Because you guys asked me about secure. All right, so we did not dig enough into this, and I have not covered the topic for most of this to make sense for most people. So this is for advanced users that have read ahead in the book. All right, so Bob asked me, why is this working without secure? I think Barton asked, why is this working without secure? False. The default is false. It is not secure. What does secure mean? Secure means that this property is trusted to be passed from the UI side of the Windows installer to the server side of the Windows installer. In other words, you can do values in the UI side, which is not elevated, which can be manipulated by the user, can be edited by the user. It is okay if this property is sent from the UI to the server, which is when you hit the elevation prompt and the Windows installer says, hey, do you want to install now? That prompt that comes up, you go into the elevated side, it only will set the properties that are marked secure equals true, or yes in the case of Windows installer, yes, true, secure equals true, only those properties will come from the UI to the server. Why is it working in all of my examples here? Because we are going straight to the server, so it is only looking at the public properties to be set. So to set, which just means it doesn't matter whether it's marked secure or not, it just goes and bypasses completely.
Now, is that saying that it's working because there is no UI sequence? Because there's no UI in these Dojo MSIs, or because you're running elevated inside the sandbox?
Well, so yeah, so good point. I am running these MSIs essentially quiet all the time in quiet mode. And in quiet mode, they skip the whole UI part, which means the whole evaluation of secure versus not secure properties is ignored. That's only in the transition from UI to elevated. So since I have no UI in these, it never does any UI. It's just going ahead and installing here. So now, it is true that the sandbox runs elevated, which is why I don't get an elevation prompt with each of these MSIs that we run, which has been a nice way to speed up the flow here. But if I was running these on my machine locally, each of them would be doing an elevation prompt, because that is the transition to, this is the part where I change your machine. This is the part where you need to be super secure, thus the elevation prompt. Did I answer the question, Bob?
I think so. You're saying that the matter of secure properties only applies during a transition. So if there is no transition, it's all good.
If there is no transition, the only thing that applies is the public versus private.
Okay, so if you were to run this exact same command line from an unelevated process,
yep,
it would still work.
Yep.
Okay.
We can do that. I trust these, right? Right? We trust these things that we just wrote.
Yeah.
This is my machine, by the way. Here, I'm going to close the sandbox behind us. I just have to remember to uninstall it. Where am I going? Episode 14, bin, x64, debug, enus. I'm now in PowerShell. This is great. MSI exec/i. Hey, look at all those things I've been testing. MSI exec/i. Episode 14, except I can't do that syntax. I think we talked about that before. That syntax is not allowed. Episode, and which one am I doing? I'm doing foo equals zzz, right? And when I hit enter, you can't see it. There it is. There's the Windows installer UI coming up, thinking about it. And there's the elevation prompt. It went all black. You guys can't see anything, I assume. And then yes, I click the yes button. It allows it to go through, and there we go. So you missed the elevation prompt. Hey, I got another elevation prompt. Why? Because I'm opening regedit. And we're going all the way back to the top. Local machine, software, Dojo. There you go. ZZZZZ.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So This secure thing is only matters when it crosses over that UI boundary.
That's very interesting.
Or no, Martin's. No. Yeah, no. I'm pretty sure it's when it jumps the UI thing from the elevated to the elevated, not when it comes from the intermediate to the immediate to the. Maybe it is from the immediate to the. Oh no. Yeah. No.
It's
it's
really
the
there
UI
are three
jump.
phases.
Yeah, it's the UI jump. It's the install UI
UI,
sequence to
then
the install
script gen.
execute sequence.
Yep.
Yeah, you're testing me here live in front of everybody. No, I'm pretty sure that's right. And I don't want to dig into all the log files to prove it, but there you go. So,
Although
yeah.
speaking of log files, I do believe that you will get a warning in the log. Never mind. I'm going to stop talking because I think we've disproved what I was about to say.
Yep. I'd love you to talk about relative past MSI exec again because I must have missed the first time. Yeah, so from a previous stream, I'm going to do MSI exec, /x episode 14 MSI. So you see here, this is the dot syntax for episode 14. If I do this, the Windows installer will, it's going to work this. There it goes. Verify installation package cannot be opened. Verify the package exists. You have access to it. This is essentially I can't find that file, and the Windows installer is dumb, doesn't understand relative prompts. I assume it has something to do with the way that these things are communicated over their UI service. So I can either pass this relative path with none of the extra syntax on it, or I could pass the full path to it. Either one will work. And there's my elevation prompt, and then it's uninstalled. That's the trick. All right, so this gets me all the time because PowerShell likes to do this dot slash thing, which to make it very precise that it means this file in this folder. It's a safety thing, but yeah. No. All right. We're 5 minutes over, 7 minutes over, actually. I hope you guys had a good time. Bob, thank you for joining me. Thanks for stepping in for David. It's a little bit different show when you kind of swing by, but I do appreciate it. We got to dig into a couple more advanced things in sparring. So that was fun. I hope you guys had a good time. I'll be back in a week. Hopefully Dave will feel better, and we'll do that. Otherwise, maybe we'll invite Bob back. I don't think he did too bad. What do you guys think? All right. Until then, we'll be back next week, and we'll see you guys later. Bye.
Bye.
Take it to